Hi all my beautiful snowflakes and welcome to this extended version of me restyling my Wriothesley wig. This was only recorded as a TikTok video and I never intended to use it for a tutorial, but since a lot of you liked it on TikTok I decided to make this more in-depth explanation. But again, it is not a tutorial like my other tutorials, but I still hope it will be useful. Let's get into it. After the wig has dried from being washed, I will then turn it inside out and put it on my wig head so I can resize the cap. I will leave a link in the description box for a tutorial on how to do that. I forgot to mention that this wig is from Doogie Doogie Cosplay, but with extra waves and is the with scarf version, but I do think that the no scarf version would have been better for the way I ended up styling the wig, but at the time I bought it I did not plan to style it the way I did it. So if you plan to do something similar like mine and want to use the same wig as me, I recommend buying the no scarf version. If you also need to sew your wig cap smaller and you're watching the tutorial I have linked in the description box, if I remember correctly, they sew the cap together on the wig cap. If you can't do that, don't start to panic because I couldn't either. Just pull the wig off the wig cap and sew it together. At that time, I had just got my first crimper and I wanted to try it out, but in the end, I only ended up with crimping a bit of the front part of the hair before giving it up. So this step can be skipped. But I did crimp all the wefts before using them, and since I had just gotten the crimper, my Wriothesley wig has waved from the crimper, and personally I'm not a fan of that. But I have since learned how to remove the waves from using a crimper, and I have a short tutorial on how to remove them, link in the description box. We have now come to where I'm making a fake hairline, and I'm just going to say right away that I will tear this one off as well, so this is not the end result. But there are still a few things that we need to note down before actually moving on to the video clip where I make the hairline that are still attached to the wig today. First off, this is my second time making a fake hairline. The first one is the reason why we're here. Second, when I did cut and style the wig the first time, I removed with a seam ripper the front part of the wedge on the wig, so I will have some surface to glue the new hairline onto. I do not remember how many rows I removed. If I recall correctly, I wanted to remove 2 rows, but I ended up removing 3, cause row 2 and 3 was weirdly attached together, but that might not be the case for you. So the surface or like space you need for the new hairline is around 1 cm or half an inch. Maybe less than half an inch. And I'm talking about the width. So what I'm going with this is that you need to take a seam ripper or a small scissor or something else to remove the widths from the front line of the wig, so you will have space or like a surface to glue the new hairline onto. For the width that's going to be the new hairline, I took small sections and cut the ends into a V shape. That includes going in with a thinner scissor and then cut the ends with the razor method to give it a more feathered look. The razor method is when you glide the scissor up and down while cutting. To get it into the V shape, I then add some Got2b hairspray, and I have learned since that Got2b hairspray is toxic, so please get your hands on a mask before using, and don't forget to air out the room once you're done. I do not flatten the tips, I simply shape them into points so they will keep their volume. I then had the balls to glue the webs on with a glue gun. I felt very confident that day. It also turned out okay until I decided to cut in it. So after I didn't succeed the first time, I tried again, but this time with even smaller sections. I lightly tap the section onto the glue so it will keep its round point shape. Before I start styling the new hairline, I decided to make some sideburns. For that I used felt fabric. I place the felt fabric underneath the wig so it will line nicely with the wig cap. I then draw with a marker the shape of the sideburns. I then took the same marker and started coloring some glue spot that was noticeable at the hairline. That was a big mistake. I have since removed it, but just know that you will be able to see it in this video. I then cut off all the hair at the ear tabs. I have then cut out the sideburns and will now add some hair to it. I secure the sideburns with needles on my sofa. I have then crimped some black webs that I will use. I also cut the ends so they are more feathered, but I will show you how I do that in another clip. I then use a glue gun to glue the hair on. I gently tap the hair on so the glue won't be noticeable. I add a second layer as well. Then I comb all the loose hair off before securing it with got-to-be hairspray. I will then continue with the sideburns on the wig. I place the felt underneath the wig cap and secure it with needles so I can glue it to the wig cap. This is how I cut the ends. I spread the hair out like a fan and then cut it like this. And then I would just continue to add hair to the sideburns. Once I'm satisfied with the amount of hair, I just cut it before setting it. The sideburns are my absolute favorite part about the wig. It was my first time ever making sideburns like this and they turned out amazing. The video does not make it justice. It looks so good in real life. Then it's time to style the wig and do some final cutting. For reference picture, why can I say that word? For reference pictures, I went and took a bunch of screenshots from the game so I could get a good shot of every angle. But I also found inspiration from other cosplayers, and I do recommend that you do the same so you can get a good idea on how you want your Wriothesley wig to look like. I like to use a straightener for when I style my wigs. Right now I'm using my straightener to heat up the roots so I can move the hair in the direction I want it to fall. I like to take my time and then I figure things out along the way. I start cutting the bangs by using the razor method. Then I also go over with my thinner scissor. And if you look closer, you will see that I'm cutting at an angle, and that is because I want the hair to sway, and the best result is to thin the hair out at an angle, so the outer hair, the one to the right, is shorter than the hair on the inner side, the one to the left. I then take my straightener and heat up the section I just cut, and while it cools down, I hold it into the shape I want. can also use needles to shape it so you can move on to the next spot. I'll then just continue the process. I'm going to speed the video up or else it will be too long. Then for the styling part, I like to use a light hair wax, cause that still gives me room to play with the hair and to move it into the shape I want without setting it like hairspray wool. and this is how the wig turned out in the end. I'm still building his gauntlets, so I haven't been on a photo shoot yet as him, but I do have this TikTok video where you can see the wig on. Again, I never intended for this to be a tutorial, only a TikTok video, so I know this isn't the greatest, but I still think it could be of help to some of you. But thank you so much for watching, I hope I will get to see you again, and now I will let you enjoy my TikTok video.
So, you wanna know my favorite types of tea? Well, there's green tea, white tea, black tea, ginger tea, and matcha tea, but it's most definitely you, shawty.